To begin the news in Nigeria's northwest, where the National Human Rights Commission has blamed the abduction of 286 students and teachers from two schools in Kaduna on the failure of the federal policing system in Nigeria. And this was disclosed by the Commissioner's Executive Secretary, Anthony Ojukwu, in an interaction at a stakeholders dialogue on the state police organized by the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center in Abuja. According to Ojukwu, such a disaster could have been averted if the nation had not prioritized the protection of the elite and affluent in the society at the expense of the masses. He further drummed support for the introduction of state police to tackle banditry and other security challenges ravaging the country. The Action Age of Nigeria has raised alarm over the rising insecurity in the country, which is now directly affecting women and children in the country. The group, while reviewing the current state of women and children in Nigeria, says that this has been catalyzed by the hardship being faced by citizens, which has led many women, especially in rural areas, losing their businesses. Amadine Uyi reports.
With Nigeria's inflation rates currently at 31.70, as stated by the nation's National Bureau of Statistics, the hardship being faced by citizens is at an all-time high. The Action Aid of Nigeria, which has an objective to reduce poverty across the country, says that women are mostly affected as economic and financial difficulties are now affecting their businesses.
Economic downturn has led to setbacks to the gains made by development partners in empowering women across Nigeria, with many women-owned businesses shutting down due to financial difficulties.
While speaking in Abuja during a session to review the challenges women and children face in the country, those present at this meeting say gender inequalities and hardship is rising as all aspects of their lives are now being affected.
You can wake up in the morning thinking of what you are going to put in the table for your children to eat. You will be thinking of your children's school fees. You will be thinking of where are you going to start.
Abin da gwamnati yake yi muna ba mu ji daɗi a karakarar Najeriya ba, saboda wahala ya yi yawa muna mu mata, mu kuma mata mu ne masu sha wahala a gida, mu ne yara mu ne gida, in ba mata ba a gida, komai yanzu ya sauka muna a cikin wahala, komai ya zama sada, abincin da muka saya da naira 200 za mu ci shi har kwana 2 da yaranmu.
They are calling on government to live up to its responsibilities, saying the current hardship is now increasing insecurity of women and girls, as crime rate is evidently on the rise.
According to a survey carried out by Action Aid Nigeria in some communities to ascertain the weight of the current situation on women and children, most respondents said that the rate of crime, that is killings, stealing and kidnapping, has increased.
For now, if you are inside your house, you are not secure. In your farm, you are not secure. Everywhere, even as we are here now, we are not secure. So we have to think of that one and know how to think of where are we going.
The Action Aid is also calling on citizens to collaborate through innovative ways to improve the lives of women and children in the country. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadine Uyi.
Still talking security matters, stakeholders in Nigeria have called for reforms of the Nigeria police, saying citizens-centered policing must be the objective. And this was as they met in Abuja, where they rated the performance of the police low in terms of service delivery to the public, thereby calling for reforms that will meet the yearnings of the public. Amadine Uyi reports.
It was an appraisal of the state of policing in Nigeria with a focus on citizen-centered policing. This workshop, organized by the Clean Foundation, reviewed the conduct of police personnel in the country in the light of their obligations to the public.
While we're talking about policing, we must be mindful of the fact that it's the duty of the police to provide internal security. But what we have at the moment is the military being encouraged to provide internal security, which is not the right thing to do and it's not in the right direction.
Marginalized groups, including women, young persons and children, people with disabilities, as well as the poor and powerless, experience poor service, neglect, or even abuse at the hands of personnel of NPF that are meant to protect them. Such experiences, especially against women, are exacerbated by the larger societal gender stereotypes that create rigid ideas about the roles and expectations of men and women, which sadly are being reproduced by public institutions like the police in Nigeria.
Stakeholders say reforms are apt to improve policing in Nigeria, calling for efforts to ensure that the Nigeria police meets the yearnings of the public.
These realities erode public confidence and trust in NPF and calls for urgent measures. Rebuilding confidence and trust in the police will require several measures, including gender mainstreaming, gender responsiveness, gender transformative approach, and gender sensitivity.
We're pushing for a police that is effective and efficient, a police that will serve the purpose where we need to have police in place. And so this conversation is a large conversation, it's a big conversation, it's a conversation that all of us need to share our experiences and knowledge.
We must have a police sector driven that is human rights driven, and we must also interrogate the architectural security architecture that will place the police among the people, within the people, and serving the people and not just serving the ego of any other person.
With Nigeria grossly underpoliced, security stakeholders are calling for reforms that can help the Nigeria police live up to its full responsibilities. They say there is a need to ensure that they provide adequate service to citizens. In Abuja for News Central, I am Amadin Uyi.
The leadership of both the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions have directed their members across university and inter-university center campuses nationwide to withdraw services beginning Monday, March 18th. According to a memo signed by the National President of SANU, Muhammad Ibrahim, and the General Secretary of NASU, Petis Adeyemi, an address to branches of the unions dated Friday, March 15th, the 7-day industrial action is in fulfillment of their earlier threats and ultimatum issued to the Nigerian government by the unions over the unpaid withheld salaries of their members. The unions blame the Nigerian government for allowing the matter to degenerate, querying the justification for the payments of the withheld salaries of the members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, but decided to leave out their members. And to talk about these, I'm joined live on the news by the president of SANU, Muhammad Ibrahim. Good morning. Glad to have you join me.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Okay, let me find out from the horse's mouth, why is SANU and NASU going on strike?
Well, we have made this very clear to Nigerians that the issue of going on strike is a painful decision that we have to take in order to press on our demands. Recall that in March 2022, we went on strike for 4 months. We suspended the strike in August after reaching some agreements with the government of Muhammadu Buhari then. Thereafter, what we witnessed was that even after agreeing that there was going to be no non-victimization of any of our members for taking part in this strike, we were visited with, with the withholding of our salaries. When this government came on board in May 2023, we made representations to government. We requested that this issue be revisited. And the president of this country, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in October, gave an approval for the release of the withheld salaries. And In November, we met with the Minister of Education. He did confirm the approval of Mr. President. And in February, that's just last month, our colleagues in the academics were paid 4 months. And we realized that our members were not paid. So we thought it was an error. We drew the attention of government by writing those that were connected with the matter. And we did not receive any positive response. After that, we issued a 7-day ultimatum for a positive response. And if that is not done, we were going to down tools. And that was never done.
Okay,
and this is what is bringing us to today.
Yes, just to chip in there, Comrade, you talked about not receiving positive response from the government. When you say you have not received a positive response, what do you mean by that? Was there any response whatsoever, be it negative or positive?
Well, we wrote an official complaint. We never received any official reply. So I don't know what you define that to be. But if it is talking about personal communications, you know, because we know some of the people working in government, we have discussed with them. Like I said, even the Minister of Education, when we met with him, you know, even though it was a private meeting, he confirmed to us that something was going to be done. And we cannot understand why something has not been done, because for the workers in the university, both teaching and non-teaching, we receive salary from the same authority, the Office of the Accountant General to the IPPIS. And all our salaries are centralized in Abuja. And it's just a touch of a button. It's electronic. It doesn't require any rocket science to pay workers if you want to pay them. So as far as officialdom is concerned, we have not received any response.
Let me bring to you an issue regarding SANU and NASU. You know, whom in time past, you know, had fracas, but I mean, they have now reconciled. Do you think their division or, you know, their way of working independently in the past will in any way affect government responding to the needs of this body?
I do not remember any fracas between SANU and NASU.
What I mean by that
at least I have been in this.
Okay, what I mean by that is that they pursuing their own course independently.
Well, you may also be aware that NASU and SANU are two independent unions, but because we are majorly or largely populated by non-teaching staff of different cadre, you know, we have found convenience in having like a marriage of, you know, a marriage, working together, especially where issues that is besetting us are the same. So that is why we work together. But where they have a constitution, defining their membership, defining their functions, we also have our constitution in SANU, defining our membership, defining our functions. So where we need to converge and work together, we do. And we have a body called the Joint Action Committee. And we have never had issues, operating at that level. So working together, this is the issue of going on strike together, because that strike we went for was under the Joint Action Committee of NASU and SANU. And when we had to suspend, it was the same body with the officials that decided that we should suspend after reaching some consensus with government. So as far as this case is concerned, it is the case of, you have withheld our salaries and the president said you should pay. And some saboteurs in government are keeping it away from us. And this is why we have to strike at this point, also to show them that the system cannot operate without the non-teaching staff. As I'm talking to you, this morning, we have shut down services in registry, majorly administration, in bursary about finances, in works and maintenance about facility management, giving electricity, water, and then security services, and students' hostel, and processing of results, and liaising with NYSC, graduating students. These are all our own jobs that we do. And for the next 7 days, these jobs will not be there and we will not be able to, render them until and unless if government decides to do the needful. We are a peaceful set of people, and we have been patient enough.
Well, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, President Mohammed, but what would be your next line of action if the government refused to budge?
Well, we do not want to envisage that government will be this adamant and, uncivilized, with all due respect. But if that happens, for a union leader, what he has is a toolbox. And in the toolbox, we just picked one. That is the warning strike. After a warning strike, we can decide to have protests. We can decide to go on indefinite strike. We can also picket, offices of those that are besetting us. So those are things that are still on the table for us, that we could still deploy, that are still within the legal framework of unionism. So we hope and pray that we don't have to get to that level. But if we are pushed to the wall, nothing stops us from doing any of the aforementioned.
Well, we will definitely keep in touch with you. Thank you so much for your expertise on the news. President of SANU, Mohammed Ibrahim, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I'm now joined live by our correspondent, Marvelous Obomanu, to talk about the killings in Kaduna State. Good morning, Marvelous. Glad to have you join me.
Yeah, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing just all right. Just fill me in regarding the kidnap of over 200 pupils in Kuriga, Kaduna State.
All right. First of all, let me express disappointment that a couple of years after I was in Kaduna State to do a story on the kidnap of school children back to high school, years later I'm still here in Kaduna State to talk about school kidnapping. So it's feeling for me. Now, this Kuriga LUEA primary school is located in Chikun local government area. And then for those who know Kaduna State, Chikun local government area is one of the worst hit in terms of mass abduction of school students over the years. We have the one that happened in Baptist High School. We saw the one that happened in Greenfield Private University, and now Kuriga LUEA primary school. Now, this particular primary school, the JSS and the SSS was having one issue of kidnapping. They left their location, came to Kuriga to join the primary school. So when they came to join this primary school, as at 8:20 that morning on Thursday was when these abductors came to pick these people. Now, before now, what we learned, some people who spoke to us around this area said that there were local vigilantes that usually mount guard in that community. Maybe in the evening, in the night, there are some youth and some adults who congregate themselves to form a task force to protect their community, because some of them are saying that the government cannot protect them anymore. So they have resorted to helping themselves. So after that night, the Wednesday night, the mounted guard, okay, and then on Thursday morning when they went to sleep because of, the night job they did, around 8:20 during the school morning assembly was when these bandits, came to pick these children up. And then a couple of days after, I've called a youth leader in that community, that the principal, one of the adopters.
Thank you so much, Marvelous. That's the most we can take on this edition of the news. We'll connect with you subsequently for more detailed information about that. Thank you, Marvelous. And moving on to another news item. President Bola Tinubu says the killers of Nigerian army personnel who were on the peace mission in Delta State will not go unpunished. The president, who made this known in a statement he personally signed on Sunday, extended profound condolences to the families of the soldiers, their colleagues, and their loved ones. The president said the Delta killings demonstrate the dangers faced by Nigerian servicemen and women in the line of duty. He asserted that as a nation, Nigerians must constantly remember and honor all those who have paid the ultimate price to keep the country safe, strong, and united. Thank you for staying tuned. The Nigerian Senate has sounded a caution to the executive arm of government, advising against any attempts to inflate the budget through a supplementary budget. The Senate urged the executive to advocate for the utilization of expected savings resulting from the recent depreciation of the national currency to address fiscal deficit. The warning comes amidst a backdrop of the local currency's sharp decline against the United States dollar, soaring from $900 per dollar to over $1,500 per dollar. This appreciation ensued following a series of interventions by the Central Bank of Nigeria aimed at aligning the parallel and official exchange rates of the naira. Last year, the National Assembly adjusted the 2024 budget benchmark exchange rate from the initially proposed 750 naira per dollar to 800 naira per dollar, reflecting prevailing economic realities. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has called for the immediate reinstatement of Senator Abdul Ningi, who was suspended from the Senate for alleging lawmakers padded the 2024 budget. Ningi, representing Bauchi Central, claimed a discrepancy of 3.7 trillion naira between the approved budget and the one being implemented, which led to his 3-month suspension. In a statement, SERAP considers Ningi a whistleblower and his actions a positive act of good citizenship. The group stressed that suspending Ningi discourages future whistleblowing and undermines transparency. The organization urged Senate President Akpabio to reinstate Senator Ningi and refer the party allegations to anti-corruption agencies for investigation. The National Judicial Council has sounded the alarm over a disturbing trend of fraudulent activities targeting retired judicial officers across the nation. According to reports received by the Council, fraudsters have been relentlessly contracting retired judicial officers via phone calls, falsely promising expedited processing of their retirement benefit in exchange for various sums of money. In a statement released on Sunday, the Director of Information for the NJC, Soji Oye, emphasized that the Council has no association with these fraudulent activities and urged retired judicial officers to remain vigilant to avoid falling victim to these deceitful schemes. The Plateau State House of Assembly has been in a confused state since the judgment of the Court of Appeal removed 16 of the 24 members who belong to the PDP. Youth Centrist Chizoba Anyonwe tells us more in this report. We'll try to bring you that report subsequently, but moving on to another news item is a story about happenings here in Nigeria, where Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has directed that Ojukwu food markets commence operations today across the state. The markets have been tasked with selling discounted food items across 5 divisions of Lagos. The food items include rice, beans, gari, bread, eggs, tomatoes, and pepper, among others, and they are to be sold at a 25% discount to residents. Youth Centrist Bettina Unweli has details.
That the Ojukwu food market will begin sales of food items at discounted prices in the 5 divisions of the state today, Sunday, March 17. According to the governor, the Sunday Markets initiative was aimed at cushioning the effect of the high cost of living in the country. Expectedly, Lagosians wasted no time in flooding the various locations to buy food items at friendly prices.
We have gari, we have eggs, we have onion, we have beans, we have rice, and we have pepper and tomatoes.
What delayed us today is due to the traffic of the block determinant bridge. They have to go through Maryland traffic, so the vendors came late. So the people that came to buy the market were really complaining. But we promised them next week they will get more better than this.
Governor Sanwo-Olu had stated that the food markets would operate exclusively on Sundays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. across 57 locations in the state. The first wasn't without its hitches, as some of the food vendors turned up late. For Lagosians who turned up to take advantage of the initiative, it was a welcomed development. However, some complained that the 25% discount was not significant enough.
Lagos is working and they are trying, but it's not yet enough. They have to put more effort. Like what they are offering us now, it won't go more than how many days? Only 5 kg, 5,325 for 5 kg. The price is a bit fair, but the quantity is not enough. How many days will we consume this?
Ọlọ́run ṣeun tó bá tiẹ̀ ń wà báyìí ó bẹ́tà ó sàn ju rárá lọ torí ebi ń pa àwọn èèyàn nínú ìlú ní gbogbo ìlú ebi ń pa àwọn èèyàn ṣùgbọ́n eléyìí tán bá tiẹ̀ ṣe báyẹn tó kárí á tún dínkù.
We even thought being an elite area they won't respond so much. Even elites are here.
Against the reality of the current harsh economic situation, it is apparent that patronage of the Ojukwu food market will steadily increase in the coming weeks and months. As such, the onus now lies with the government to fine-tune the process, make it as seamless as possible, and ensure the usual corruption that rubbishes government initiatives do not hamper this one. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
Coming up, Gambian lawmakers set to debate bill, FGM ban reversal. We have details shortly. Join us again. The news continues in Central Africa, where the United Nations says clashes have broken out between government forces and M23 rebels, leaving 8 UN peacekeepers injured after a brief lull in fighting in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. UN mission head Binto Keita said one of the peacekeepers was gravely wounded in the attack on Saturday at Sake. The strategic town lies 20 kilometers west of Goma, capital of North Kivu province, and witnesses said fighting resumed in the area on Saturday after several days of quiet. Witnesses added that by midday Sunday, a precarious calm had settled over the region. A Congolese security source says UN soldiers were wounded when 2 M23 shells landed on their camp in Sake's Mombabiro district. We head to the south of the continent, where South Africa's Home Affairs Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, says the department has no intention of destroying the tourism sector by forcing foreign nationals awaiting visa outcomes to leave the country. He was speaking at a media briefing on Sunday after the department came under fire for a circular that was issued in December. The circular instructed foreigners who had not received a response to their applications to extend their stay by the end of last month or return to their home countries. Motsoaledi said there is no need for tourists to panic as the department is experiencing a backlog. He said tourists will be able to stay in the country if they have evidence they are awaiting an outcome of an application to extend their visa.
You apply for the extension of your visa before it expires. You are given a receipt which has a reference number with which you can trace your application. In case your visa expires before the department has responded to your application, that receipt will act as an extension of your visa until such time that you get the response, positive or negative, from the department. I have tried my best to explain this matter on 2 occasions in Parliament, that people who are carrying receipt for having applied for a visa, before they get any response, that receipt acts as an extension until such time that there's a response. And this means that no law enforcement officer immigration officer, or officials at the port of entry may trouble you while you are carrying this type of receipt.
The city of Cape Town has called on political parties to abide by the rules of the Independent Electoral Commission when posting their election campaign posters. The city said parties are only allowed to attach one election campaign poster per street poll. The city of Cape Town's bylaws also prohibit the display of posters along freeways. Political parties are not allowed to attach posters at bus stops, traffic lights, or on electricity distribution boxes. The offended political party will be notified by the city of such contravention by email and will be given 48 hours to remove or remedy the contravention. The city of Cape Town also encourages residents to report any transgressions. Gambian lawmakers are set to vote today on a bill that could overturn the country's ban on female genital mutilation, also known as FGM. The bill, introduced earlier this month by independent lawmaker Almame Giba, has sparked outrage from human rights groups who say it could endanger girls and women. FGM is a harmful practice that involves the partial or complete removal of the external female genitalia. It can cause severe health complications, including infections, bleeding, and difficulty passing urine. The Gambia outlawed FGM in 2015, but some lawmakers are now arguing that the ban violates religious freedom and cultural norms. And now let's head to North Africa. The European Union and Egypt have signed a €7.4 billion financial package to support the North African country, boost energy sales to Europe, and stem irregular migrant flows. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen was joined in Cairo by leaders of Austria, Belgium, Cyprus, Greece, and Italy for the signing ceremony with Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The strategic partnership deal includes billions in credit over coming years and stepping up gas and other energy flows to help Europe move further away from Russian gas.
And today marks a historic milestone. With the signature of our joint declaration for a strategic and comprehensive partnership, and given your political and economic weight as well as your strategic location in a very troubled neighborhood, the importance of our relations will only increase over time. And we are also very concerned about the risks a full-scale offensive in Rafah would have on the vulnerable civilian population. This needs to be avoided at all costs.
Egypt plays an important role in fighting human trafficking and in fighting the smugglers' network. The EU will assist Egypt in coping with this challenge and working together to fight the root causes of irregular migration.
In the week where King Charles III hailed the work of the Commonwealth in its 75th year, representatives from the African arm of the 56 countries gathered in London for the Commonwealth Africa Summit. For News Central international correspondent Afua Hagan was there.
The Commonwealth Africa Summit has a mandate to promote the interests of the African bloc of the Commonwealth of Nations, as well as the interests of the Commonwealth in Africa. Every year in London, the initiative brings together the world's leading government and business leaders, policymakers and experts with an aspiration to foster more opportunities for Commonwealth citizens from and within Africa. The initiative champions sustainable development, economic prosperity, security and good governance across Commonwealth countries in Africa. It works to achieve this mission by working in partnership with the Commonwealth and African governments, public and private institutions, businesses, civil society organisations, as well as other regional and international development partners. Climate change, inclusivity in culture, media and sport, and increasing women's participation in politics were high on the agenda. Artist and storyteller Peju Alatais says it's time that the Nigerian government gave much more support to the arts industry in the country.
The culture has the potential to be the greatest export from Nigeria, West Africa. Our music is everywhere, literature, fashion, food, there are new restaurants opening that are Afro-infused restaurants and stuff like that. So I mean, we're everywhere, and the culture is, we are the ambassadors of the culture, and we're the ambassadors to the country. So it's about time they took us seriously, because again, we're the ones sort of cleaning up the image of the continent, right? It's the creative sector, because at the end of the day, nobody knows who the politicians are. They know who the musicians are. They know who the actors are. You know, they know the people that come into their homes, either hanging on their walls or through their sound system or on the TV. You know, we engage with people, we change their minds about who we are, and then we tell the truth about our circumstances, where we tell our own stories on our own terms, in our own voices. Of course, it's really important for that to be part of the agenda. If we're talking about contributing to the economy of the country, we should be.
With delegates from all over the world travelling to London for conference and working group sessions, Natalie Bisnael, founder of Health for Peace, says effective communication across countries in Africa is the best way to make sure the Commonwealth really works for effective change.
Communication. We cannot communicate with each other enough. I'm realizing that a lot of people, when I say where I'm from, are like, oh, I've never met someone from Chad, which on one hand makes me sad, and on the other hand, I'm like, great, you get to meet me. Let's talk. So it's all about, unity, which is, I think, almost a cliche, but just talking with each other. You know, they say you can't really, tell someone's story until you walked into their shoes. But for me, it's more just get to know the person behind the scenes, try to talk more.
As questions over the value of the Commonwealth linger, it's essential these forums continue to grow to ensure senior decision makers and citizens alike are equipped with the information to respond to challenges, as well as seize opportunities to create the Commonwealth that they want. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
He has met with his New Zealand counterpart on Monday as China's most senior diplomats began a tour of the country and Australia. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Winston Peters greeted Wang in Wellington, New Zealand's capital. Wang is the highest-ranking Chinese politician to visit the country since his own previous visit in 2017. New Zealand has had strong economic ties with China in recent years and was the first developed country to sign a bilateral free trade deal with Beijing in 2008. While in Wellington, Wang will also have brief meetings with Prime Minister Christopher Luxon and Trade Minister Todd McClare.
Ni hao, and welcome back to New Zealand again. It is good to have you here. This is your third visit to New Zealand as Foreign Minister. I think I have met you once before on one of your last visits in a former capacity, but it's good to have you here. Our government has been in power now for just over 100 days, and part of our focus is on wanting to build our relationships with renewed energy and renewed urgency to make sure that we continue to grow our prosperity and also our security. So it's a real privilege to be able to have you here with us today.
Let's now join the business desk for today's business stories.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam expressed his confidence in bolstering collaboration with the International Monetary Fund to fortify Ghana's economic resilience and drive sustainable and inclusive growth. Welcoming IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva to Ghana, Dr. Adam anticipates bilateral discussions towards this goal. Georgieva's visit includes meetings with top Ghanaian officials focusing on strengthening collaboration within the ongoing IMF program. Additionally, she engages with influential Ghanaian women and civil society leaders, highlighting IMF's commitment to inclusive growth. Georgieva will participate in the Accra AI conference, exploring AI's role in Ghana's economic development. Ghana's IMF program aims to address COVID-19-induced vulnerabilities and foster fiscal management, economic resilience, and inclusive growth for a prosperous nation. Benga Komolafe, the NUPRC head, highlights successes in Nigeria's oil sector, citing 51 approved field development plans expected to attract $17.64 billion investment and yield 2.12 billion barrels of oil and 13.13 trillion cubic feet of gas over 5 years. Additionally, $2.5 billion investment in 175 wells drilling and $2.68 billion in 842 well workovers are anticipated. Despite current oil production averaging 1.33 barrels per day, technical potential stands at 2.26 million barrels per day, offering investment opportunities. Komolafe emphasizes collaboration with international oil companies for deep offshore asset development and ongoing licensing rounds to boost reserves, production, and national revenue under PIA regulations. Chinese President Xi Jinping pledges support for Chinese firms investing in Angola's agriculture and manufacturing sectors to aid the nation's economic diversification. The move comes as Angola seeks to reduce reliance on oil revenue. President Xi emphasizes cooperation in key infrastructure projects and economic modernization. China holds significant investments in Angola, with Luanda owing Chinese creditors nearly $21 billion. The upgrade of bilateral ties to a comprehensive strategic cooperation partnership aims to enhance trade and investment between the two nations. Angola's economic reforms aim to offset oil dependency, as highlighted by IMF concerns over growth targets amidst oil sector decline. And finally, Kenya's export earnings from other African countries have surpassed import expenditure by a record 164.04 billion Kenyan shillings in 2023, boosting government efforts towards continental market integration. Goods sold to other African nations totaled 431.89 billion Kenyan shillings, growing 22.99% from the previous year. Meanwhile, import spending remained flat at 267.86 billion Kenyan shillings. President William Ruto advocates for the removal of trade barriers and adoption of intra-African trade settlement in national currencies. Uganda emerged as Kenya's largest market, with exports exceeding 100 billion shillings for the first time. Trade with Tanzania and the Democratic Republic of the Congo also saw significant growth, driven by demand for various goods. And that's our offering on business news at this hour. Thank you for watching. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. The news continues shortly. Bye for now.
And for sports stories, the sports desk has details.
In sport, goals by Godwin Obaje in the 37th minute and Kingsley Madoforo in the 48th ensured that Enugu Rangers came out victorious against Lobby Stars at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Stadium in Enugu. Despite the loss, Lobby Stars still remain top of the table with 46 points. Meanwhile, Enugu Rangers are second, just behind Lobby Stars with 45 points. In Lagos, Sporting Lagos handed a 2-0 defeat to visiting Kwara United, while in Aba, Eyimba won 3-1 against Niger Tornadoes. At the Samuel Ogbomida Stadium in Benin City, Benin Insurance of Benin won against Doma United 4-0. Away from there, now to Europe, where Super Eagles winger Samuel Chukwueze finally opened a Serie A account for AC Milan as he closed off a 3-1 result against Verona, displacing Juventus, who were held to a draw by Genoa. And to wrap up sports update, substitute Kani Chukwuemeka and Noni Madueke snatched victory for the Chelsea side against Leicester City at the end of a dramatic second half at Stamford Bridge. The hosts led comfortably at 2-0 until Axel Disasi scored an own goal from 35 yards out to lead Leicester back into the tie in the 51st minute. Steffi Mavididi then coiled in a superb equalizer 11 minutes later after he took Maduke's long-range strike to seal the win for Chelsea. With Chelsea progressing into the FA Cup semi-finals, the Blues will now host Burnley in the Premier League after the international break on the 30th of March 2024. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. I'm Favor Itwa.
And that's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take a look again at some of the major stories. President Tinubu pledges killers of soldiers in Delta State will be punished. Sano, NASU begin nationwide strike. EU-Egypt signed €7.4 billion deal on energy and migration. Send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen and follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Abo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adebola Adeduba.